Good evening, Baruchim Abayim Rabotai. Welcome to another edition of our Thursday night's class. Tonight's class was sponsored Leilun Nishmat Moreno Rav Ovadia Yosef ben Georgia, Zecher Tzadik v'Kadosh Livracha, Zchuto Yagen Aleinu v'al Kol Yisrael Amen. Bifrat on the sponsor of tonight. Tonight's the actual Yortzeit. It's not just in honor of. It's the actual day. It's a big thing. It's a very big thing. 6 years. Time flies. Yeah. 6 years. The years go by quickly. So, I'll be honest with you. Originally, I was thinking more of talking about Rav Ovadia. That was my plan on Wednesday. And then today in the car on the way here, I thought about it and I said if Rav Ovadia was alive, he probably wouldn't want to be spoken about. That would be less important to him. Because what was important to him is that his Torah should be taught. He always was very happy when he heard that people learn Sfarim and that, and look, Sfarim all over Klal Yisrael. Unbelievable thing. So I changed the course of action. So we're going to try to say over a little bit Chidushei Torah that have to do with the parasha, that they're not really from Rav Ovadia, but they're things that he said over in the Yazdim, and these are values that he promoted, that he used to say over. So on Parashat Noach, there's a sefer, somebody did a really nice job, I don't know what it is, but some rabbi in Israel, called Mishulchano Shel Maran. There's many books that came out like along that style, but he brings down different things from different Sfarim. You know, Ovadia ben Harav wrote so many Sfarim, and Lavdil ben Chaim l'Chaim, his kids too, there's no end. You need a whole book. I have in my house a bookcase, almost from the ceiling to the floor, dedicated to the Yosef family. Really, literally. Just Chazal Ovadia, Chaved Da'at, Yabia Omer, Sfarim, Anaf Etzav, Ma'or Yisrael, Sfarim after Sfarim, Alichot Olam, volumes after volumes. You need bookcases, shelves and shelves and shelves, just to the Torah of Ovadia. Then start with the kids. The Sheilot V'Tshuvot of the chief rabbi and Yalkut Yosef, and the other Rabbi David Yosef, his Sfarim Halacha Brura, the most brilliant piece of work that was put out probably in 500 years. And unreal. One after another. So it's an amazing thing. There was a zocheh. And not that many people put out Sfarim, but a lot of times you don't hear about them. These are Sfarim that Klal Yisrael uses, that exist everywhere, every yeshiva, every Jewish house, they use Sfarim. It's a big schut. That's because Ovadia cared so much. It was a huge Mesilut Nefesh that went into these Sfarim. It wasn't, I would hope that everybody knows the story of his first sefer that he actually published officially, the first volume of Yabia Omer. He wrote the Tshuvot. Most of it was written in Egypt. You could see by what he wrote there. He was young. It wasn't the first sefer he wrote. He wrote other things before, but they weren't published yet. There was one point that he wrote a sefer that he was told not to publish it because he was so young that they told him because of Ayin Hara he should wait until he's a little bit older and publish it at an older age. When he wanted to put out the first volume of Yabia Omer, so it cost money to put out a sefer. So these days, you know, Sfarim became grave sites. The front few pages, Leilun Nishmat and whatever, and the back few pages and whatever. So that's how you raise money. I guess then it wasn't a style yet, so he didn't know what to do. He had a little bit tzar from it. And his wife came to him and told him that she wanted to get some sort of closet or piece of furniture for the house. So she's been saving up money, I don't like misquoting, but for a very long time. And she sees that he wants to put out a sefer. The sefer is more important than the books, than the shelves. And she gave him the money that she saved up for a while, what she wanted to buy, and that's how he put out the first volume of Yabia Omer. That's the way the story goes, more or less. It's no pele that there's not a posek alive today that doesn't learn Yabia Omer on a regular basis. The sefer that was put out with such a Mesiut Nefesh of a Jewish lady and a Jewish legend, and his wife was a legend of Klal Yisrael, and under such Mesiut Nefesh of himself, of course, this special blessing of Siyat Dishmaya in that. So anyway, on the parasha, right at the beginning of the parasha, Rav Ovadia quotes a Gemara to make an observation. Torah begins, Eila Toldot Noach, Noach ish tzadik, tamim haya b'dorotav, et Elokim yitalech Noach. So we title Noach, Tzadik Tamim. It's like a double compliment. It's righteous and has the Ma'alav Tvimut also. That's what it says, right? Later on in the Chumash, in Perek Zayin, when Hashem's telling Noach to go into the Teva, so over there, Hashem calls Noach only Tzaddik. Doesn't say Tamim anymore. So what, his status was downgraded? What happened along the way? Tzaddik Tamim, and now he went down to Tzaddik. So this is the Gemara's question. The Gemara is in Masechet Eruvin Daf Yudchet Amud Bet. The Gemara says, why in one place Noach is called a tzaddik, and at the beginning of the parasha, if it would be the other way around, there wouldn't be a question, by the way. This could be, you got the higher level. You don't downgrade. Why over here? So the Gemara, the way Rashi explains the Gemara, concludes that we learn from here a rule for life. That's why Hashem wrote it this way in the Torah. That when we're talking to a person, b'fanav, in front of him, we only say miktzat shvacho, part of his compliments. You don't over-flatter people. But when you're talking about somebody not b'fanav, so then you can give him all the titles. So when Hashem was talking about Noach, the Torah is talking about Noach in general. Eile toldot Noach was saying Noach's history, his lineage. So we call him Tzaddik Tamim, the full title. But when Hashem was talking to Noach directly, Hashem is talking to Noach, he's telling Noach. So then we only say, he only call him Tzaddik because Miktzat Shvacho b'fanav. We only say the Miktzat Shvacho. That's why it only says Tzaddik. So on this, Rav Ovadia quoted what it says in the Pele Yoetz. The Pele Yoetz, is written by the subtitles to the Aleph Bet. So the Pele Yoetz under the subtitle Shvach, meaning praise, discusses this idea of compliments and whatever. So there's a very, very fine line between compliments and flattery. Compliments is a very important thing. We should always compliment people and we should always tell people nice things because number one, it's our obligation to do so. Number two, they need to hear it. It goes so far, there's a whole shot, I'm not going to go through into the calculation of how he came out with it, from the Briskirov, Zecher Tzadik Levacha, that he says that if a person sees a friend, a Jew, meaning a Jew sees a Jew in the morning, and he doesn't tell him good morning, in Shamayim they're going to come after him as a ganav, as a thief. Why? Because it's a debt that one has to another person to wish him a good day, tell him good morning. It's a literal debt. So you didn't pay your dets. You had a debt to tell somebody good morning, you didn't tell it to them. Skirov says, could be it's even a chiyuv mamash. It's like a real chiyuv mamoni. It's just like you owe money to somebody. Ad kidei kach. Yeah, you have to do it. So of course we should be nice and say and tell people good things. It's amazing, right? And then there's certain times in a person's life, or one time, twice actually, that we go to an extreme with that. By chatan and kala, right? Kala na'ava chasuda, the Gemara learns out over there. Rashi learns out that even things that aren't 100% true, you could exaggerate a little bit. And that's the way it was nifsak in Shulchan Aruch. Yeah, they say every boy is the best boy in Lakewood Yeshiva until his Sheva Bachot's over. Then he went back to being a regular guy. But during the period of Shidduchim, of course he's the best boy, because otherwise he'll never get married. And even after that, he's also the, by the wedding, by the Sheva Bachot, the eulogies that they say about boys by the Sheva Bachot, I hope by the 120, that's my blessing for every Chatan, that by the 120 they should also say such eulogies about them. Because when a guy's dead, nobody cares to make up stories. When he's alive still, it feels, there's an interest. But, okay, but so there's a reason for that. But why? Rashi writes, Kedei lechabeval ba'ala, you say about the kala, so to make a beloved on her husband, and vice versa, meaning it goes both ways, obviously. And then also, it's brought down in halacha that by a funeral of a person, you're not allowed to lie and make up stories, of course not, but enhance a little bit. Mishum kvod hamet, you're allowed to say a little bit to enhance, to dramatize, we'll call it. It happens to be that the Ari HaKadosh writes that it's terrible for the neshama, and that's why many Gdolei Yisrael wrote in wills that they don't allow anybody to say a eulogy on them. Maybe even the majority of Gdolei Yisrael, if you look through the Sfarim and the calculation of how many did that. Because the neshama has big tsar, because if in this world they say about somebody that he knew the whole Shas, in Shamayim they hold him to it, and if he didn't know the whole Shas, now he's in trouble. So it's better not to say. You see many, many Gdolei Olam that are buried all over the world, that on their grave it doesn't say anything. It doesn't say anything. Ponitman here was buried, Harav, no titles, just Harav, with a name, and that's it. And that's not because that's what the students did. That's because they wrote in their will that they don't agree anything else. That's all it should say. Rabbi Levin, for example, he wrote that on his matzeva, they should write to say Ani Ma'amin, whatever. So. But again, it didn't have to do with him. That was his way of getting out of it. Write about something else. Because it didn't come from a humility. There's a cheshbon for the neshama, it's not always good. The only thing that's good is something that... But still, mishum kvod hamet, for the respect of somebody who passed away, so you're allowed to. Now I see in Harav Nuchot in the past few years became a style to put pictures of the person on the grave. In the actual tombstone, they put a picture. I call families all the time, and I tell them to take it off. And they say, why? I say, you know what tsar you're causing your mother in Shamayim now? You know what suffering she's going through in Shamayim? What are you thinking? So I said, what are you talking about? I said, there's a picture of your mother on her grave without her hair covered. After 120, she's in Shamayim, and forever they're pointing to her, look who you were. You didn't cover your hair. So you know what suffering you're causing her? They put a picture of a guy without a kippah. You know what tzar he has in Shamayim from such a thing? I don't know what people think. They don't think. That's the answer. And Baruch Hashem, I had the schut. Many families had the brains, and they listened, and they took it off. I said, go donate something. Lilu nishmat. They should have schus in Shamayim. Don't put pictures. Don't waste your money. Besides, there's a lot of halacha problems with it. That's a separate issue. Halachically, it's probably not right. Did you ever see a Gdol Torah? Does the Baba Sali have a picture of himself on the grave? Does Rav Ovadia have a picture of himself on the grave? Chaim Zion has a picture of himself on the grave? All our Gdolim, you ever saw anybody? Rav ZTZL, Maran Rosh Shiva, is there a picture? So some clown who hopefully maybe kept a little tradition, they already put pictures. That's because that comes from Amaratzut. It comes from against the Torah. It doesn't come from the Torah. It's a wrong thing. It's 100% wrong. But the tzaddikim, some of them went to the extreme of not even allowing to write anything about them. Even that not, because they said, maybe not. And so you'll see that there's a lot of depth to it. The Ari writes clearly, it harms the neshama a lot if it says something that's not true. A lot. But the Pele Yoetz talks about live people. And so in the subtitle Shvach, so over there the Pele Yoetz says like this. To say nice things in front of a person about him is a good thing. Why? He says it's marbeh ahava, achva v'reut. It enhances friendships. We all like to be complimented, let's be honest. There's nothing wrong with that. I'll tell you straight out, I love compliments. It's sometimes on Friday somebody sends me a text, great class last night, made my day. I'm not embarrassed to say it. I say it as it is. Some people are embarrassed. They think it makes them little. Oh, what are you, childish? No, yeah, everybody needs a good word. That's the way it is. But it's very important. It's critical. Very, very important. I have a friend who's a big Rosh Shiva. He's much older than me. And it's so. I'm talking about one of the big giants. I'm sure many of you ran to him for blessings many, many times. And why do we call each other friends? I'm not, Halavai, one day I should know 5% of his Torah. I'd be very happy with myself. Because once I heard a shiur klali from him. He was saying a shiur in a yeshiva. I happened to be in Israel. I didn't learn it by him. I didn't learn in his yeshiva. But I heard the rabbi is giving a shiur, and it was on a subject that was, I wanted to hear. So I went to hear the shiur. He gave a very deep shiur. I enjoyed it a lot. And afterwards I went to speak to him in learning. And before I left, he asked me where I'm from, what's my name. He didn't know who I was. I told him I live in the US and I came to Israel. How long are you here? A couple of days here. I thought he was being nice to me, right? Taking interest in my life. Very, very nice thing. And then he tells me, let's exchange phone numbers. That was the happiest day of my life. People need to get through to his driver and gabaim and this and that and pay bribes and that, maybe get them. He's saying, let's exchange phone numbers. I never felt so good. But I also thought he was he was stroking my ego, right? He wanted to make me feel good. But I didn't care. I felt good. I was going along with it. I loved it. So I said, sure. So I told him I have a cell phone. Here's my cell phone number, whatever. And he told me I also have a phone. He said, then he made a cynical comment. It might not be as fancy as yours. Maybe it's more kosher than yours. But here's my phone number. He said, there's no voicemail. There's no that. He made sure to stress that. I think he didn't like the phone I had. Fine. And we exchanged. And he tells me, you know why I'm giving you my phone number? I want you to call me. I said, I'd love to call you, but I don't want to waste your time. He says, it's not a waste of time. It's good for me. So what do you mean? He says, I'm a Rosh Shiva for many, many years. I think he's at 61 years or something like that. He's an old man. You could just imagine. We're talking about one of the Gedolei said. And I say shiurim, a shiur klali every week. There's been azmanim a few weeks a year, but let's say 40 weeks out of the year. He said, in all the years, none of my talmidim told me after the shiur, I really enjoyed the shiur. I gained so much from it. He said, and you did. And it felt good. I was missing that. It gave me a chizuk that my shiur is actually heard and somebody's interested in it. So let's be in touch. And like this, I got an open door by one of the Gedolei Hador. The Torah giant. I don't think he meant what he said literally. I still think he'd want to make me feel good. But I do think he meant to teach me that it's okay to want to compliment. There's nothing wrong with that. It's okay. So the Pele Yoed says it's very important. Compliment people. Because it makes that people should appreciate each other and like each other. And that it's a human need also. It's an important thing. Then he says, there's a second thing that you gain from it. When you compliment somebody, it motivates them to do well. Somebody worked hard on something. A guy's an employee. He worked hard to get some project done. He got it done. And his boss comes to him afterwards and tells him, listen, great job, amazing, gives him a couple extra bucks. The next time he has to do another project, he's going to have more motivation to do it right. If he did a project and worked overtime and this and nobody acknowledged him, the next time he's going to do a half a job. That's the way it works. That's why it's so important to always say thank you and to be makil tova and to acknowledge the good that people do for you and not to take anything for granted, even the tiniest thing, even a cup of water. Chazal say, "Potech delet lechavero." Somebody opens a door for his friend, nafsho chayav lo, he owes him his life. I said many times in the shiur, didn't let us as boys in the yeshiva open the door for him and hold the door open for him ever, because he said, "I'm already old, and I don't have enough years left in my life to be makir tova to you for holding the door open for me." You hear that? The Gdol Hador, who gains when you open the door for a Gdol Hador? Imagine a 13, 14-year-old boy held the door open for him, Shlem Zalman Orbach. You remember it until 120, right? You'll never forget it. It's the happiest moment of your life. So really, he did you a favor by letting you hold the door open. And Afal Pikein, he said. And then he would add on, and also you're young Talmidei Chachamim. The Gemara says you can't use the services of a Talmid Chacham. I can't let you do it. What did he gain by that? Do I think he meant it literal? No, I don't think so. Shlem Zalman wasn't disillusioned. Some 13-year-old, the Gdol Hador. But he knew that if he's going to tell it to a young boy, the next day when he goes to learn, he goes with his whole heart. He wants to be like the Rosh Yeshiva one day. And that doesn't come for free. You got to sweat to be that way. So it motivates you. That's what the Pele Yoed says. To give a good word to somebody is very important because it gives them the chizuk and the motivation to do better. I always say that I learned it in an elementary school that I have a lot of good memories from. For a very interesting reason. That there was only one main rule in the school that I learned in. Very unlike all the schools that you learned in. And the only rule was that there's no tests. Isn't that good to go to school with no tests? That was the rule. You know who established that rule in the school? The Dat Torah of the school, that was HaGaon HaTzadik Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky, Zecher Tzadik V'Kadosh L'Vracha, HaGaon Olam. I merited to be his neighbor at a very young age for a few years. What was Rabbi Yaakov's logic to that? He said, what's a test? To show you what you don't know? What's that going to do to young boys? Destroy their confidence when they're 3 years old already. So what's the point? To kill them? He said, so what should the Rebbe do? He should go around the class and ask each boy, tell me something that you do know. And then he'll build up their confidence. They knew something. They were able to say it over in class. Amazing thing. Such an amazing thing. It's a smart way of going about life. Kid comes home with a test with a 60. His confidence is shattered afterwards for life. I can't do it. I can't get a good mark. I can't. Don't give him the opportunity to think he can't do something. Always show him that he could do. And the more you show somebody he could do, the more he's going to do. And people have unbelievable power that's just hidden sometimes. Today's teenagers know how to hide it very well. But one way or the other, if we bring out the good, you become good. Every boy that heard in his life at home all day that you're a loser, you're this, you're that, you're embarrassment, he became an embarrassment and became a loser and became exactly what his parents told him. And the ones that heard at home how great they are and how proud their parents are of them or whatever, at one point or the other in life, maybe it took some it takes longer, some less time, but at the end they became something. Something came out of them. Something came out of them. I was once, I'll never forget this, I went to Levaya, a funeral. And I didn't know the person who died, I didn't know the family, I didn't know anything. I happened to be driving in Aram Menuchot, parking my car to go to my uncle Zichrono Levacha's grave, and somebody came over to me and said, we need a 10th person for a minyan for a funeral. Are you willing to join? Mitzvah. To be milaveh et hamet, to be part of a minyan, a double mitzvah. Skula l'eichut yamim also. Unbelievable. I went running. I said, of course I'd join. No question. They said that to you, Yosef said to her, they were going to bury him in like 10 seconds. I said, hey, kvod amit. Anybody here has a child? And one guy said, yeah, I'm his son. I said, say a few words about your father. He's alive. They're about to bury his father. He wasn't a young guy. We're talking about a man in his 50s probably. So, and his father died b'seivat tova, Baruch Hashem, lived till his high 80s. So he said he can't. So I said, why can't you? So he said, my father was a shomer Torah and mitzvot, and I am not. And I don't feel it's right for my father that I should talk about him when he was a righteous man, and I'm very far from being so. This is what he tells me live in front of his father's grave. So when I hear that, I said, poor guy, by his father's grave, not only does he have to deal with the grief of losing a father, he's dealing with a trauma that he has, that he's worthless. I told him, first of all, Hashem says, Ad yom moto achakelo, you're still alive. One day you could be a shomer Torah mitzvot. I said, number two, I'm sure your father was always proud of you in something. I'm sure there was some sort of connection. Thank you. Problem is, this one doesn't stay closed. This is called the Yetzirah's door. If you want to know how the Satan looks, this is the way he looks. Live. But anyway, so I tell him, as I said, this is not going to work. Your father died, say something. The guy got up. He agreed to me. We were 10 people. There wasn't a minyan. There was 2 guys from the Chevra Kadisha, the son, 10 people, that's what we were, besides for ladies, so maybe 20 people. He finally agrees, and he bursts out crying, and I thought it was more the mourning part of it, right? That he lost his father, whatever. And he said, Dad, I know I disappointed you during your life, but you never gave up on me, you always believed in me. For the first year, I'm going to keep Torah and mitzvot just like I know deep down you always wanted me to do. I don't know, I never kept up with the guy, I don't know his name till today, anything. But if I had to bet, I would bet anything I own that he's a shomer Torah and mitzvot until today. Imagine his father would have told him on his deathbed, look what a failure you are, you never kept Shabbat. He would be a goy forever. Because his father always believed in him, and always spoke to him nicely, and always treated him nicely, so maybe it didn't work for 50 years. But better late than never. Rabbi Akiva started learning when he was 40. Rish Lakish, I don't remember the exact age, but he went from the head of the mafia to one of the greatest rabbis in written history at an older age. Rabbi Yochanan told him, Chilach L'oraita, 2 words. And the same thing with everybody. Give them a good word, and they'll reel right in, because people need a good word. So that's the first part, Pele Yoetz. Then comes the Pele Yoetz and writes the flip side. He said, but don't overdo it. Don't overdo it. Why not? But bezrizus, because for some reason my instincts tell me that Ovadia would have not liked the shear being disturbed. I'm pretty sure of that, by the way. But anyway, so it's comes the Pele Yoetz and says, don't overflatter, but why don't overflatter? Comes the Pele Yoetz and says, because if you overflatter, then a person's going to become arrogant, an egoist. And that's not good. You can't turn a person into an egomaniac. You got, people have to have humility in life. So you got to find the balance. On that, there's also another point, by the way, and this is very important for parents especially. It's very important to compliment kids, and the more the merrier, but in a real way. Why? Imagine you tell your son all day long, you're a genius, and he's not a genius. At a certain point, reality is going to hit him, that he's average, he's not, or maybe even below average sometimes. When that reality hits him, number one, everything you said not only wasn't a compliment, it's salt in an open wound. And number two, he says, my father thinks I'm a genius. I'm not a genius, and I can't be a genius, right? There's no way to buy brains. I wish there was. I have a lot of people that I would give them to, buy them for as a gift. But it doesn't work that way. And now he gives up. He writes himself off in life. And many boys told me over the years that I spoke to, saying, boys is lavdafka 18, I'm talking about people even in their 30s, that weren't keeping Torah mitzvot properly, even though they grew up in very good homes. What made them quit was the fact that they heard so many times that you're going to be the next dolado. When they realized that they're not holding by being the next dolado, the way down was very quick. And I think that's also hidden behind the Pele Yoetz's message. Find a balance between a compliment and exaggerating. and blowing things out of proportion. Give a good word, but don't blow it out of proportion. Make it in something that's realistic, that's something that's obtainable, that's something that you can achieve. But the Pele Yoetz's main stress definitely is that you can't cause somebody to be an arrogant person, a Baal Gava. Hashem hates Baal Gava. So give him a good word. Based on that, the Pele Yoetz says, that's what the Gemara is saying. Bifanav, in front of him, it can affect him in a bad way, in his humility. So say only miktzat shvacho, part of his compliments. Shelo bifanav, not in front of him, say the whole shvacho. He's a good person, you should say it the way it is. This is what comes out of the Pele Yoetz. So Ovadia quoted this, and on this, Ovadia always said in the Yazdim, I'm sure you saw and watched or heard shiurim of his, because it's such a pleasure to listen to. He always mixed into the shiurim some stories and some humor and some this, he would talk about the most complicated halachot, but he always stuck in a line, a story, of this, sometimes even some words in Arabic, so something to make, to catch people off guard. He liked it. He was one step ahead of everybody, and he knew how to get the crowd, not to fall asleep. Nobody fell asleep in the Yazdim, When you listen to a shia from him, Hashem gave him a gift. It's a very, very big gift. Not all the great Torah giants had the gift of being able to give over Torah. He not only was a giant in Torah, Hashem gave him the gift to be able to give over the Torah. He had a way to give it over to other people. It's an unbelievable thing. So when he used to say, and a lot of that he would quote was stories. But when he quoted stories, he didn't quote regular stories. He would quote stories that were written in the Sfarim, that he knew these stories through the Sfarim that he used to learn, or about the rabbis of the Sfarim that he used to quote. You see straight across most of the shiurim, the stories didn't always have to do with the subject he was speaking about. The stories normally had to do with the name of the rabbi. Like let's say he quoted a chidush from a certain rabbi, so he would say a story about that rabbi, because he just quoted his name. That's the way it worked. So on this subject, here's some of the stories that he said over. This is my favorite, I'll be honest with you. There was a great rabbi named Daniel Prusis. He was a dayan in the bedin of the Khatam Sofer, Moshe Sefer, Zecher Tzadikim, Zichronam Livracha, great Gaonei Olam. So Khatam Sofer at one point didn't have a wife, he lost his wife, and they were gonna, he was gonna get remarried. So this Reb Daniel had a shidduch for him. He wanted to match him up, to do a shidduch, a big mitzvah to help people get married. Who was the shidduch? Rabbi Akiva Eiger's daughter. Akiva Eiger, the Gaon Olam of Akiva Eiger, had a daughter. So he wanted to match the Khatam Sofer, Moshe Sefer, the Khatam Sofer, with Akiva Eiger's daughter, to make a shidduch. So he went, Moshe Sefer, he went to the boys' side first, we would call in today's shidduch world. And he said, I have a shidduch for you, Akiva Eiger's daughter, what do you think? So he said, how do you want me to tell you? I don't know who his daughter is. I don't know. Maybe yeah, maybe not. I have no idea. He said, give me a few days and I'll get back to you. Today, what do? You get a resume and you call the friends and they all have a written script of what they say. The best boy ever, the best girl ever. The best is when I call 2-3 friends and they tell me the same thing word for word. I want to ask them, you all got the same fax this morning, the same email, what to read off the checklist? Unbelievable. I don't know if it's right or wrong, I don't know. One way or the other, there's halachot. You have to learn halachot, what are you supposed to do in these situations. Or just say, I don't know, and goodbye, hang up. But, okay, he had a different way of doing it. This was the old school way of doing it. He sent a letter to Rabbi Akiva Eiger. What's amazing about this story? A lot of things, but just about this part of the story. That he knew that Rabbi Akiva Eiger was such a gadol that he's not biased about his own daughter. He's going to tell him the truth about his own daughter. Normally, would you ask a father about his daughter in Shidduch? It's the stupidest thing to do. Of course, he's going to tell you only good things. The Khatam Sofer understood that Rabbi Akiva Eiger was such a gadol that by him, honesty is such a value that it doesn't make a difference if it's his daughter or not. He's going to say the truth. And he wrote to him, they all told me maybe it's a good idea for me to marry your daughter. I don't know your daughter. What's the story? Is it for me? This is what the Khatam Sofer writes a letter, right? This is before the days of phones. Writes a letter to Rabbi Akiva Eiger. Rabbi Akiva Eiger sent them back a letter. Thank God they did it in letters. That's how we know the story. Otherwise we wouldn't know it. We have the letters today. Listen to what he writes him back. He writes him back about the question that you asked about my daughter. She has Yirat Shamayim betachlit, perfect Yirat Shamayim. She's a kala na'ava chasuda. That's a very big compliment to give somebody. Ayelet alvim, ya'alat chen, all these compliments and all the shonot from Chazal, all the great ma'alot that his daughter has. And like this, he writes a paragraph of how great, that his daughter's a great person, in ruchaniut, in gashmiut, in all the ways. But then the letter's not over. Rav Ovadia adds on a paragraph. Rav Ovadia says, Ulam, but I don't think that it's for you. Why not? Listen to this. Harei kvod torato chashka nafsho ha'torah lekayem kol divrei Chazal. Your honorable Torah is what he's writing to the Chatam Sofer. These are two Gaonei Olam writing to each other. Wants to always keep everything the Chazal HaKadoshim that the holy rabbis taught us to keep. So, and you definitely want to keep everything that the holy rabbis teach us to keep. And the Gemara says in Masechet Pesachim Daf Memtet Amud Aleph, advice. Listen to this advice. In today's world, it's called unconventional advice because unfortunately people don't think this way. The Olam, meaning always, don't even think twice. Yimkor Adam kol ma sheyesh lo. A person should sell everything he has, even if that's what it takes. It doesn't mean you have to. It means even if that's what you need to do. V'isa bat talmid chacham. And he should marry a daughter of a talmid chacham. Comes up Ovadia and writes to him, V'ani ba'avonotai harabim. And I, in my great sins, lo igati likarei talmid chacham. I'm not a talmid chacham. So how are you going to marry my daughter when Chazal give you advice and you keep the words of Chazal to only marry a daughter of a Talmid Chacham? Therefore, I don't know if it's a good shidduch. The Gdolado, the Gaon Olam that went down in history is probably the biggest brain. Rav Ovadia writes to the Chatam Sofer, I don't know if this is a good shidduch for you because the Chazal say you should marry a daughter of a Talmid Chacham. And I'm not a Talmid Chacham, so my daughter's not a daughter of a Talmid Chacham. The story's not over yet. Listen to this. Chatam Sofer gets this letter, and he writes him back a letter. Here's the letter word for word. Divrei kvod gono, the words of the respectable genius, your honor. Lema'alat bito, on the ma'alot, the compliments, meaning the good of his daughter. Ne'emanim alai kemei aidim, I believe him 100% as if 100 witnesses testified to me what you said about your daughter. Whatever you said, kadosh, I believe 1,000,000%. Beram, but libino kfi, I'm worried, my heart is worrying me, meaning I feel guilty inside. Mima shamu Chazal, what the Gemara says, and he quotes him a Gemara in Masechet Pesachim. Rav Ovadia quoted a Gemara, Daf Memtet Amud Aleph, he turned the page. Daf Memtet Amud Bet. I'm worried about what it says there. What? The Gemara over there says, Le'olam yimkor adam kol ma sheyesh lo. A person should sell whatever he owns. V'yasi bito letalmid chacham. In order to marry off his daughter to a talmid chacham. Comes the Chatam Sofer and writes, V'ani mesupak, and I'm not sure if igati lechlal talmid chacham, if I'm considered a talmid chacham. V'im ani ra'ui liot chatano, and therefore I'm not sure if I'm worthy to be a son-in-law. Because al pi halacha, you have to marry your daughter to somebody who's a talmid chacham. Today I get phone calls from people that need psychiatrists and say, how much money does the boy have? Does he have a savings? Does he have a plan? Does he own a house? You know what my answer to them is? I have a guy who has a big savings and a lot of houses and everything. His name is Bernie Madoff. How many billions of dollars was he quote unquote worth? What savings? Everything you saved, Hashem could take from you in 12 seconds. Those of you who are a little bit older and remember 2007 know exactly what we all went through. What's it? That's what's important. Before they ask if he's a Baal Midot, Yirei Shamayim, if he prays, if he studies Torah, if he knows halacha, if he knows how to respect the wife, anything. Does he have a savings? But now I have a new answer in the past few months. This answer came from my Rebbe, Zechat Tzadik Kadosh Livracha. I once told him, Rabbi, this annoys me already, this stupid question. I can't. What should I answer? Tell me what to answer. Should I swallow it up and make believe and play along, or could I say what I really think? So he said, don't do either. So if you say what you really think, you'll scare everybody off. It's not going to be good. And, people don't understand. You can't blame them. They're Amaratzim. They didn't learn better. To educate them, you're not going to do either. Tell them like this. Tell them this boy is a Talmid Chacham. And a Talmid Chacham needs a girl that can respect the Talmid Chacham. So he has a savings. You're going to save him from marrying somebody who doesn't respect the Talmid Chacham. I had a story of a shidduch 3 months ago. A little more. The beginning of Tammuz. Tammuz, Av, Elul, Tishrei. Yeah, a little more than 3 months ago. Guy called me up also. Does he have a savings? Does he have this, a degree? I told him those words. It was right after my Rebbe told me this idea. He was quiet on the phone for a few minutes. I thought he hung up, so I hung up the phone. Really, I didn't hear him. I thought he hung up. I said hello twice, 3 times. He didn't answer. I hung up. I said goodbye. Calls me back a minute later. Why'd you hang up on me? I said, I don't know. Maybe your phone doesn't work. Maybe my phone was on mute. I'm down l'kav zchut, but I wait. He says, I'm processing what you said. I said, I'm not a food processor. When you're done processing, call me back. So he tells me, let me sleep overnight on this. Okay. I said, normally let me sleep overnight is either you never hear from them again, or they call you the next day with such an attack that you don't forget for a few days. This guy was an Ish Emet. I respect Anshe Emet. That's why I say all the stories about them, because there are very few this generation. He calls me the next day, and he tells me, is he a Talmid Chacham? I said, yeah. Is he Yerei Shamayim? I said, listen, I'm not God, I don't know, but on the outside, yeah, for sure. He has good midot, yeah. He's going to take care of my daughter, he's going to respect her and that. I said, take care of what? Is he going to bring home money to pay the bills? No, he's broke. Is he going to smile to her? Is he going to be nice to her? Is he going to treat her with respect and dignity and not be an animal like most other people? That I vouch for. He said, let them go out. I said, but I told you, I'm saving him from a guy who doesn't appreciate a Talmid Chacham. He said, I already did tshuva. Those were his words. I said, what does that mean? I said, by me, words are lip service. I need action. For you to take a guy who could be the next Gdol Ador and then he marries your daughter and 3 months later you put pressure on him to go work, that's the last thing I want. He says, I'm willing to commit to you right now on the phone. If you want, I'll send it to you in a text so you should have it in writing, that I pay 100% of their bills in the most comfortable way as long as he's sitting and learning. I said, this guy might learn for 20 years now. He said, 20 years it is. Baruch Hashem, I'm blessed. I'm not lacking anything. Amazing thing. They got engaged, Baruch Hashem. The next problem was, the girl didn't know what a Talmid Chacham was. So the guy didn't open the door and didn't this. His head's in learning. What the hell? Open the door. He didn't this, I don't know what. The tie was a little crooked one time. There was a lot of drama along the way. This wasn't an easy thing. So we did what's called a mental surgical procedure. We educated her over the course of a few months what a Talmid Chacham is. Now they're engaged, Baruch Hashem. They're going to build a Beit to Torah. Will be the next Gdol Ador. I always tell her. Whenever she calls for things along the way, because now she has to learn. What does it mean to go live in a kollel town and to be, she has no clue. She's learning along the way now. So when she calls with the questions, I always tell her, I'm jealous of your Gan Eden. Your husband has the potential to be an Adam Gadol. And to be Zochet, a Talmid Chacham, in today's generation, who's going to sit and learn for a lot of years going ahead and that. Doesn't want no jobs and no nothing. Wants to sit and learn. Serious? So I'm jealous. I'm jealous of your Gan Eden. Unreal. But honestly, I'm much more jealous of the father's Gan Eden. I met the man afterwards, right? I got to be at least 60. A 60-year-old man that had such principles of, he has to be a man, he has to, all those fancy words. To go in one night and change from one side to the other, and to make such a huge commitment, to be willing to support a couple for years to come. These people are going to probably supporting children and grandchildren because they're also going to sit and learn. I mean, this whole inheritance is devoted to this one day. You should live till 120 and be well. In one night, to make such a switch, and to be so humble, to say, I did tshuva. These are big levels. Oh, Hashem's happy in Shammai when he sees people like that. If there'd be more of those, then there wouldn't be any single boys and girls anymore. Because they would have the priorities in life straight and everything would be simple. When the priorities in life is how much savings does he have and does he have a down payment for a house or not, then I don't know what's left. I don't know what's left. Now again, this wasn't an agenda for learning boys. Not everybody deserves to marry a learning boy. That's my answer. Not everybody deserves to marry a learning boy. There's only certain girls that worked on themselves for many, many, many years that deserve to marry somebody who's Talmid Chacham. Because you have to really be holding by those levels. They're very high levels. But to see that there's a whole generation of people that do that, that's an amazing thing. It's a big Kiddush Hashem. So the great Chatam Sofer writes to Rav Akiva Eiger, I don't know if I'm worthy to be a son-in-law because... Ovadia used to say over the story a lot. By the way, he said over Parashat Noach too. Why is it amazing to say over the story, not on my own, even though I knew the story before I heard it from him, but to say it over from him that said it? For an interesting reason. Because Rav Ovadia was the legend of being humble in this generation. So it wasn't that he said over a story. He said over his life story, just blaming it on the Chatam Sofer and Rav Akiva Eiger, using them. What do I mean? If you go on YouTube anyway, I'm not telling you to go on YouTube, but if you go on YouTube anyway, then you put in Hebrew, Rav Ovadia Yosef or Pinchas Scheinberg. Those two names are rabbis. Maybe in English it'll work too, I never tried. A video is going to come up. Watch it. You're going to be blown away. These were two Gdolei Yisrael, Gaonei Olam. Rav Scheinberg was a Gaon Olam. And they were friends. On one level or the other, I don't know what it means, friends by Gdolim, but they had a spiritual connection. And I forgot who visited who, but one of them visited the other. You'll see on the video. I don't remember. I didn't watch it in a few years. Maybe it's time that I should watch it myself again. And you see Rav Scheinberg gave Rav Ovadia some sort of compliment. And Rav Ovadia bursts out crying, literally crying. And he says, what are you saying? I'm not a Talmid Chacham, and this, and I'm full of Averot, and you have to pray for me that I should do tshuva, and that one day I should learn. And crying. It says a whole nusach over there. You got to see it. I don't remember the exact words. See it to see the exact story. It's mind-boggling. Ovadia lived the story that he said. His anava was literally that. He filled up stadiums all over. The whole world listened to every word he said. Presidents came and went and were scared of him. He made and broke governments like it was a joke. And with all of that, and with all his power, both spiritually and politically and everything else, and hundreds of thousands of people that learned Torah and his merit and everything, there's a very good chance that the majority of us wouldn't be Shomrei Shabbat today if not for Ovadia. Not because he made us religious or because there was no Sephardic pride once upon a time. So the way Sephardim used to get their pride, especially in Israel, and even in America, lo aleinu, was by being like the Goyim. Being money hungry and the chase after money and nothing to do with Judaism. Ovadia brought back the Sephardi pride, the old, be proud of the fact that your mother covered her hair. And be proud of the fact that you kept kosher at home. And be proud of who you are. And that opened the door to the Sfaradim to come back to the right way. Because now it wasn't an embarrassing thing. It was nice to be part of it. It was important to be part of it. It was unreal what he did with that. La'achzir ha'Torah li'Yoshna, that slogan wasn't a theory. He lived it, he breathed it. Say, what's Sephardi? When I went to yeshiva in Israel, the Sephardi yeshivot options were, I think, 3 yeshivot. There was nowhere to go. It was Ovadia Yosef if you were that style, and you wanted that style learning, and a couple of other yeshivot, and that was the end. This Zman, meaning that just started yesterday, Hashem should watch over all our Avechim and yeshiva students, they should have a successful year. There are more Sephardi Talmidei Yeshiva in Israel than there are Litvish and Hasidic combined. And this is in the span of 33 years, this change. We went from having handfuls to having more Talmidei Yeshiva and Kollel students than both the Litvish and the Hasidim combined. Nobody in their faintest dream 25 years ago would have thought such a thing possible. It wasn't a concept at all. By a Sephardi father to let his son learn, didn't exist. What do you mean learn? Go to the army, go work, go make money. And today, because of the pride that he stuck in, by Igbali Bo B'Darkei Hashem, it's a pride to go learn. It's a pride to say, I have a son who's a Talmid Chacham. In Israel, it's really funny because it comes out, it's very obvious. A lot of times you see a guy who, he could look like a hippie. And he's so proud to tell you that he has one son in Bnei Brak, and one son in Beitar, and one son in Yerushalayim, and this kollel and in that kollel. And he says it with such a pride. And God knows if this guy knows if there's Rashi at all on Chumash. Probably not. But he heard a few of Rav Ovadia's speeches that spoke to his heart about how important Talmidei Chachamim are, and that's it. That was enough for him to send his kids to Ela Maayan. And from there to a good high school, and from there to a good yeshiva gdolah, and from there to a kollel. And when they came to him and said, Abba and kesef, he said, so I'll give you kesef. That's what happens when you use shvach in the right way. When you give compliments to the right people for the right purposes. And that's a healthy gava, vayikbal libo b'darkei Hashem. The other gava is a disastrous danger. Then there were tzaddikim that went to even, I don't know if it's greater, but to a different type of level. There were tzaddikim that all this honor literally made them sick. Listen to a story. There was a great tzaddik. We quote from his Torah a lot of times in Shiurim, Reb Chaim Tzanzer, Zecher Tzadik Kadosh V'Chasachto Yagen Aleinu. Reb Chaim Tzanzer once went to visit some other town. So it used to be, until today we have this a little bit, but on a smaller scale, that when a Gdol Torah from one town comes to another town, they make him a big Kabbalat Panim. I remember the impact that it made on me, even though I was married with kids already, when Rav Shteiman and the Ger Rebbe Shibadel Chaim Tovim, came to America, and the way they were accepted in every community. When they came to Lakewood, I remember that the streets were closed down, all the kids were out of school standing on the sides of the streets, all the Kollel students standing in the front to greet Kvod HaTorah. I remember from years ago, when I was in Yeshiva, when Rav Shach ZTZL used to come somewhere to Binyanei Oman Yerushalayim to speak, or to other places, everything went silent. Religious, it didn't make a difference. Everybody knew Rav Shach, the Gdol HaDor is coming. It was such a musar, Kvod HaTorah. Believe it or not, it's brought down in the poskim that the way it should be is that if a gadol comes to a town, you even close down the stores. You don't work. It's a yontif, it's a holiday. Tzaddik came to the city. It's a holiday. It's not so far-fetched, even though maybe we don't do it like that today anymore. Let's think about it. Let's say Hashem made a nes, whatever, Tchiyat HaMeitim, some version of Tchiyat HaMeitim, and then the Baba Sali came back to life. He's going to be in Queens tomorrow from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Is there anybody in this room that will go to work tomorrow? No. So you see, you also think like that. Just in reality, it doesn't play out. Because you're not aware that the great Gdolim alive today amongst you. But Be'etzim are all like that. Imagine you saw a sign tonight, Baba Sali tomorrow, 9 a.m., 1 p.m. in Queens. Nobody's going to go to work. Nobody's going to do anything. Everybody's going to be up early in the morning after Shachrit and the mikveh and praying that the Baba Sali doesn't say anything bad about them and go running. Because deep down, it's in our DNA, Kvod HaTorah. That's Aleph Beis. Everybody has that. Chaim Tzanzer goes to a city, and they accepted him, Kvod Melachi, the way, Man Malchi Rabbonon, like a king. Who's the real kings? The Talmidei Chachamim. And everybody was around him and that, and singing, Tzadik Balayil. Chaim Tzanzer hated kavod. He was allergic to it. Couldn't tolerate it. But at the same time, he would never stop it, because for them it's important. They have to respect Torah. It's a fine balance between not accepting honor and allowing other people to honor you. You have to be a big genius to know how to find that line. So Chaim Tzanzer turns to his son, Bechezkel, and he tells him, you want to know what I feel like right now? This is what he tells him. He says, you want to know what I feel like right now? Let me tell you what I feel like right now. He says, what? He said there was a guy who was a big general in the military. And then he did something wrong, gave a wrong command, whatever it is. So they brought him to court. Now somebody who has big military accomplishments and he made a mistake in judgment, they don't put him in prison. So what do they do to reprimand him, or whatever you want to call it? They lower his, in Hebrew it's called darga, I don't know what it's called in English. His ranking? They lower his ranking. So if he was this, he goes down to something lower. Sometimes they could even lower it by a few steps in one shot. It's very common, these kind of things. So he said, imagine a guy walks into the court, and he's the top title that could be in the military. And then the judge decides to lower him by 6 rankings. And he lowered him by 6 rankings. In the court, it was closed door. Military court is not open. There's no media, there's no nothing. It's a closed door thing. He comes out of court. All his soldiers that were waiting outside, they don't know what happened. To them, he's still the big whatever, admiral or whatever it's called. He's the big guy. And they're all standing there saluting him. He knows they just lowered all his rankings. He's nobody. What does he feel like then? He says, every salute then is murder, is killing him inside. So Chaim Tzanzer turned to his son and says, it's exactly what I feel like. He said, they went and put me up on this pedestal and called me the Admo, the Tzaddik, the this, the that, and I inside know exactly who I am. So all this kavod that they're doing not only doesn't make me feel good, it kills me, it makes me sick inside. So it hurts me. That was already a whole different level that Gedolei Yisrael got to when it comes to be Boreach Min HaKavod. There's an amazing story that I love saying over. There's another one of those stories that Ovadia said over sometimes. The Tzemach Tzedek from Lubavitch, the Rebbe Zecher Tzedek Gerocha. So he was a Gaon in Halacha and Poskim, right? We know from the Sfarim, Gaon. So once he went to Vilna. In Vilna they were mitnagdim. They weren't into Chassidut. They were anti-Chassidut back then. Today we don't have these things anymore, but then. But they respected people that were geniuses in Torah. So even though they didn't agree with the Tzemach Tzedek style, we'll call it, or whatever, but it was a Gaon Olam. So they gave him to speak. Today, if you don't like somebody, we'd never give him to speak in Yeshua. Back then, they looked for honesty. He knows Torah, they gave him to speak. So he said Shiurim. When he said Shiurim over there, even these people in Vilna that technically were called Mitnagdim, the ones against him, were blown away. They were mesmerized. They were like, the man is a Gaon. So they gave him great honor and that. They enjoyed every minute that he... So his son was with him. And his son sent home a letter to his mother. That the letter said, Abba, he wanted to make his mother happy, feel good, because she was nervous what's going to be when he goes to Vilna. He wrote in these words, Abba, nochel kavod. Abba's getting honor, a lot of honor. Rav, a lot of honor. Af ba'il shel mitnagdim, even though he's in a city of the mitnagdim in Vilna that are against him. And then he added on 3 more words. V'ani neheh mod, and I'm enjoying it a lot. He enjoyed seeing his father being respected. It's a normal thing. A son likes to see that his father's respected. I would say it's a beautiful letter to write to their mother, no? That's what I would feel about it. Made her feel good. He expressed his emotion. He stayed in contact with his mother even though they were traveling on a long journey. To me, this sounds like the greatest thing ever. The Tzemach Tzedek comes home. And when the Tzemach Tzedek is home, one day he sees this letter. The mother saved the letter. Must have made her feel good. She saved it. He sees the letter. And the Tzemach Tzedek called his son and started talking to him very strongly. And the mother heard that he raised his voice with his son, and he never did that before. She went into the room to see what's going on. He said, my husband, well, what happened? What did he do? What are you so upset about? He said, I saw the letter. And let me tell you how I feel about it. He said, Dami nishpach kamayim. Ala kavod shelo megia li. My blood was spilled like water in the streets on the honor that people were giving me that I didn't deserve. Vehu od neheneh mizeh. And he could write that he was enjoying it. His father's being killed and he's enjoying it. What does that mean? He was rebuking his son, meaning that's literally what he felt. Otherwise, why would he rebuke his son? When they were honoring him in Vilna, which should have been the greatest accomplishment for him, his biggest enemies went and agreed with him. Damini shpach chamayim, my blood is being spilled in the streets over the honor that they're giving me. How can I deal with this honor? And he's enjoying. Well, what's there to enjoy about it? These were the great Torah giants, the great Torah giants that they were. There's a very, very famous story. Once Rav Ovadia went to visit his mother. His mother lived in the town where Rav Ovadia lived. Rav Ovadia didn't know who Rav Ovadia was, which is not a big question, by the way. It's not because of Rav Ovadia. It's because back then, it wasn't like today, everything in 1 second's a YouTube clip, or social media this, or WhatsApp. It wasn't like that. There was no phone, there was no nothing. You didn't know what happened in the neighboring town. Somebody would have to physically come and say, otherwise it didn't work. No. So, he didn't know who Rav Ovadia was. He heard the name, but he didn't know Rav Ovadia was the Gaon Olam. But Rav Ovadia came to town, and he sees everybody's talking to him and learning, because other people did know. And it's a whole excitement, and they want him to say shiurim, and this and that. So he asked, who is he? So they said, he's a big Gaon. He's a big genius. So when that said, he's surprised, because he didn't see the big Gaonut. He said, I spoke to him a little bit, I didn't see where the big brilliance is. Ovadia was so humble, he hid himself. So he didn't want Rav Ovadia. Now listen to a wild story. Rav Ovadia decides that if everybody's saying he's a Gaon, it must be. So it must be something's wrong by me. I'm missing something. So he gave him to speak the main speech on Shabbat. He should say a darash, a shiur on Shabbat. And he figured like this, the Kahal will enjoy it, and he'll also get to know Rav Ovadia, he'll get to know his Torah. Rav Ovadia went and said over a shiur on Shabbat. In the middle of the shiur, Mordechai Banet had a question on something that he said, which was really the foundation of the entire shiur. So he said, the Chacham said like this, but Lichora, we could contradict it from the words of this and this Gemara. Kivega was quiet, he thought, he said, you're right. If that's the case, my shiur falls apart, and he sat down. The whole kahal was like, they were flabbergasted. Kivega was known as the greatest gaon. And here, our local rabbi just, took it apart. They went home for Kiddush. This was Shabbat morning before Kiddush. They went home for Kiddush Shabbat morning. Rav Kivega was staying by Mordechai Banet. When they got home, Rav Kivega told Mordechai Banet that, Mordechai Banet told Rav Kivega, I feel bad. I should have not asked the question in the middle. Maybe I made you feel uncomfortable. I ruined your shiur and that. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. And when we go back later, I'm going to ask for forgiveness. So Kivega said, you didn't do anything wrong. What do you mean? It's Torah. We have to ask. He said, but by the way, if you're already mentioning it, your question doesn't start. And in 2 minutes, he answered the whole question up. So Mordechai Banet now was even more shocked. So he says, so Rabbi, I don't understand. If you had such a good answer, so why didn't you say it? So Kivega looks at Mordechai Banet and tells him like this. He says, you know why I didn't say it? It's very simple why. He said, I'm a guest here. I'm here for a few days. You're the Maran Da'atra, you're the rabbi. Imagine you would have asked the question and I would have answered you. What would the people say? Our rabbi doesn't know enough. And nobody will respect you. If they look at me and say, he doesn't know anything, big deal. Tomorrow I'm gone. I'm going back to my hometown. What does it make a difference? So that's why I didn't answer you. But Kivega was willing to come out a fool on the stage in front of everybody in the city that he was a guest, not to take away from the honor of the local rabbi. Some people were gifted with phenomenal speaking talents. That doesn't make them Talmidei Chachamim, by the way. Others weren't gifted with that. And here's a guy who's gifted with phenomenal speaking talents, and he's invited or hired, I don't care what it is, to a community or a synagogue, that the weekly pulpit rabbi is not talented in his speaking, but he's a Talmid Chacham and a Yirei Shamayim who gives his life for the community. And this guy gets up onto the stage and puts up a whole show that the whole crowd goes, wow, you're a rotzeach, you're a murderer. You just killed a whole generation of Klal Yisrael. These people will never be able to respect their rabbi anymore, and as a result they won't follow halacha, and their kids will go off the derech, and one tragedy will lead to another. Because your ga'ava went in and you had to put up a show. Get up on stage, tame it down to the level of what that rabbi is. This is not show business. We're here l'shem shamayim. I'm not saying not to say over good chidushei Torah. Say over the best in the world, but without the fanfare. You don't need to put up a whole broadcasting show. It's not that Talmid Chacham's fault that Hashem happened to have given you a gift that you have a more articulate way with words. That's not the way it is. It's not that guy's fault. My father, Hashem should watch over him, taught me, when you go to communities and you visit, you're a guest, whether it's in the weekday or Shabbat, and people come to you with halakha questions, tell them you have a rabbi, go ask him. Don't answer. He said, even if they ask you the simplest question in halakha, I forgot my Shiva Ruach, what do I do? I'm sorry, I don't know. You have a rabbi, go ask him. He said, how could you take away from the Maran Da'atra's authority? How could you take any risk in taking away from the Maran Da'atra's authority? It's hard to say I don't know. It's hard to... My Rebbe ZTZL Kadosh Levacha gave me such a good eitzah. Oy, I wish my friends would have all heard this eitzah. It would have helped a lot of them a lot. Before I came to my first quote-unquote rabbinic position, I hate that title, but fine. That's what the shul wanted. It looks good for their fundraising. So I called him to see if he agrees to get his eitzah. He said I should go do it, whatever. Then he told me, but here's the thing. Shabbat afternoon, they're going to tell you to give a shiur. Make sure to make a very obvious mistake. And do it deliberately. And if you're able to, make 2 or 3. He said, like this, you won't get sick. The ego won't get to you. Because people will give it what does this kid know? And things will stay normal. And you'll accomplish what you have to accomplish. And more than that, you won't fall into the trap of being an egomaniac. He saved my life. Imagine you're a young kid put on the big stages with large crowds. It's over, your life's over. The gava gets to you, you start thinking you're God already. Leo riva ani asitini. That's what you start thinking. It's a very, very dangerous thing. There were great Dolei Israel that did this many, many times. And this is what we learned. Noach ish tzaddik. When Hashem spoke to Noach, he gave him compliments because you have to. But only tzaddik. When the Torah discusses Noach, tzaddik tamim. Then we go all out. We say how great Noach was with the full power of what Noach. Because that already doesn't affect him. That already doesn't. And that balance between knowing how to compliment and not flatter. And how to put a person on a pedestal but not too high that he's going to later on collapse. Is a very, very fine line. An amazing story once in Israel. I was speaking for a wonderful Israeli organization that does phenomenal work with college students. And I went to speak in a Shabbaton, and then they used to make these Shabbats in a hotel in Tel Aviv. And it's interesting, over there they have a formula that I wonder if it was ever tried in the US. It's very different than us. It's not open to the general public. They make weekends based on profession. That's how they drag people in. So they have a seminar one weekend for real estate people, one weekend for, I don't know, high-tech guys. And that's what draws them in, because the people don't view it as a religious event at that point. They view it as more of like an opportunity to mingle with your own. And by the way, they have rabbis that speak, and they stick in Yiddishkeit and kosher food and whatever, and it's effective, it works. I've spoken for this organization many times. They do phenomenal stuff. The Belzer Rebbe is the brain behind it. Hashem should give him a long life and a flash seva. And it's amazing things they do. So I went one Shabbat to speak for them. I went many times to speak for them, but this time it was high-tech people. Now the high-tech people, if you have to profile in Israel, are normally people between about 19, 20-ish to like 35. That's more or less the range. I'm not talking the business end, the developer end. And they're all somewhat of nerds or geeks in a good way. I don't mean that as a negative thing. I actually mean that as a big compliment. Who are computer science geniuses, and they're in their own bubble, they live in their own world. And nobody gave them a chance, nobody ever taught them Torah, it's not their fault, what do you want from them? And that doesn't, nobody ever taught them anything. Now they come, and this is your chance, this is your only shot. If they happen to connect with something, I don't know anything about high technology. Nothing, zero. To the point that now that I know how to do it, I could say this. Before I wasn't able to say this. Many of you, I'm sure, know that when I asked you for your phone number, I gave you my phone. Now I'll reveal you the secret why. Till a few weeks ago, I never knew how to store a phone number in a phone. Finally, I figured it out. It didn't interest me. It wasn't important to me. Then, when people didn't do it for me anymore, I got embarrassed, so I asked somebody to quickly teach me, so I learned. So high-tech and me obviously have nothing in common. No common denominator, 0, 0, 0. I have a car with a lot of buttons, don't know how to use any of them. Got a phone, doesn't have many buttons, it's all face, whatever, but don't know how to use any of it either. That's the way I love gadgets, don't know how to use them. I'm the perfect customer. Could sell me anything. So I'm there. So the other rabbis, a lot of them knew a little bit about technology and this and that. So at least they had a common language with these kids. I had no common language with these kids. 0, 0, 0. I wasn't worried, because I said to myself, according to the deal, whatever, when they call me to come, I don't take money, God forbid, for speaking, but when they asked me to come, they told me you're going to speak 3 times. 15 minutes Friday night, no big deal, on the parasha, easy enough. 45 minutes Saturday afternoon, an hour Saturday night, questions and answers. Q&A is my favorite, so that's no... 45 minutes, I don't know, high-tech, big deal, what do I do? I'll come up with something else, we'll talk about something else. I go through Friday night, Saturday afternoon, Q&A Saturday night, goes really well, everybody loves, and now I got to be there, but the deal was I got to stay till Sunday night. I'm not doing anything, but I got to stay. Sunday morning I had my breakfast, and the headline speaker, who's a phenomenal speaker, comes to me and says, do me a favor, I have I'm charted 3 times today, you got to take me over, do the 3 slots for me. Then he tells me, and if you want, I'll pay, I'll give you whatever they were supposed to pay me. I said, I don't take money. You keep the money, but I'm not speaking for you. He said, why not? I said, you know this stuff. I don't know this. I have no common language with these boys. This is not my... If it was pharmaceuticals, if it was real estate, I don't know what that may be, but this stuff I don't know. And it's much better for somebody like you who knows their field to talk to them in their language. He says, I'm scared to get on stage. I said, you're scared to get on stage? You're on TV, you're on this, you're on that. Well, what's scared to get on stage? He told me an interesting thing. He said, did you hear my speech last night? I said, of course I heard your speech last night. It was amazing. You took the house down. Hashem gave him siyat d'shmai. This guy's an amazing person. He got up there Saturday night. I had to be his headliner. I came out this small. But who cares? I don't care. It was one big joke. Hashem gave him siyat d'shmai. He took the place down. They were like, everybody was glued. They were after an hour of Q&A with me. 5-minute break, they go back in. He speaks. He's supposed to speak for 40 minutes. He speaks like almost 2 hours. Nobody budges. When he's done, they're all standing, cheering for him. The Avdil Elf Afei Avdalot looked like a grand slam in the 9th inning of the World Series in the 7th game. Wild. He says, my rule is, if I ever have a speech that God gives me a gift that it comes out that good, I don't speak anymore that weekend. So why? He said, there's nothing I could do to match that. And anything I'm going to do now is going to be a letdown. And this is the last day these boys are here. They're going to walk away disappointed. I said, so in other words, your success is your biggest enemy, right? He said, yeah. I said, okay, I'll speak for you. That's going to be my topic. Not about him, God forbid, but the idea of sometimes your success could be your own biggest enemy. So I gave his morning class. I said, whatever. I covered up for him with some excuse. And I started speaking. And I said, listen, guys, I'm going to tell it to you as it is. I know nothing about your world. Zero. Not only that, honestly, your world to me looks retarded. I'm going to tell it to you as it is. I said, you guys sit hours and hours in front of a computer to make games. I don't get it. I really don't get it. I'm not jumping after Pokemon, and I'm not going with Angry Birds, and I don't crush candies, and none of it. It's just not, it's not my world. Sorry. I have nothing against it. If it entertains you, great. But if it's kosher. But that's not my world. But I want to be able to benefit you. So in your field, I can't benefit you. And in a field that's not yours, I also can't benefit you because you're not interested. So I found the fine line. And here's the line. I said, you're all youngsters. I think the oldest in the room is maybe 30, if that. A lot of you have very successful companies. Some of you are going to make exits in the next couple of years. Let me teach you how not to make young kid mistakes, otherwise known as let your success become your biggest enemy. When the arrogance gets to you, when you think you know it all gets to you, when you made your first exit and go into your second company, if you don't want to lose all your money, let me teach you what it means. It's okay to get advice from those who are older and wiser. Let me explain you why. Like this, I went through with them a whole dialogue about my business career and things that I've accomplished. And I didn't speak about my accomplishments. I spoke more about my failures and why they happened and what I learned from them and what I wish I would have had the brains at a young age to get advice. I would have not had to go through them. And I almost became my own enemy that day. Because when my 40 minutes were up and I was wrapping up, they were like, hey, we don't need the other speakers. You continue now. And I ended up doing all the classes for all the rabbis that day. All about this subject. How not to become your own enemy. Comes the Pele Yoetz and tells you, you're going to get compliments in life. You should take them. It's important to take them because it's a Torah. Hashem made a person in a way that he needs to be complimented. But don't let them make you fantasize that you are what you're not. Because at that point, you're doomed. Be real with yourself. Don't put yourself down. The Torah is not into low self-esteem. The Torah is actually very against low self-esteem. Rav Tzadok HaKohen MiLublin writes in Tzidkat HaTzadik, Keshem shemitzvah la'adam la'amin beboro, just like there's a mitzvah for a person to believe in Hashem, kach mitzvah la'adam la'amin ba'atzmo. So too there's a mitzvah to believe in yourself. V'i efshar lezeh belo zeh, and you can't have one without the other. If you don't have self-esteem, you don't have emunah by default. Because you were created in God's image. So if you don't believe in yourself, that means you don't believe in God. Because God's in you. He's part of you. That's what Rav Tzadok writes. It's very simple. It's unbelievable. But there's a difference between self-esteem and being arrogant. Moshe Rabbeinu was able to write about himself that there was never a man who had prophecy on my level, and I was the most humble man ever. And it does not contradict. He knew what he was worth, but it didn't make him arrogant. He stayed the same person. Didn't change who he was. Parashat Noach teaches us, the beginning of Parashat Noach, the Gemara and Rashi teach us this yisod. Be like the Chatam Sofer and Akiva Eiger. Know a lot of Torah. Be a Gaon Olam. Be Be a great man in every way. Whatever you're doing, you should succeed. Hashem should be with you in the biggest way. But always remember that just because you're great doesn't mean you're great enough. There's always room to grow more. There's always room to get better. And that alone keeps you humble and keeps you intact. Ad 120, HaKadosh Baruch Hu should help that the zchut of the tzaddik, Maran Ovadia Yosef ben Georgia, Zecher Tzaddik v'Kadosh Livracha Zchuto Yagen Aleinu, should stand. He should be a militz yoshenos in Shamayim. How much Ovadia used to pain him, and he used to fight and scream and cry and everything when it came to Giyus Bnei Yeshivot, when they want to force people to go to the military, they're sitting and learning Torah. That actually killed him. That's what took his life. He said it openly. He openly said that this subject of taking yeshiva students out of the army is causing him such pain that it's going to take his life. And he died a few months after he said it. This is what he couldn't tolerate. And how much the respect of Talmidei Chachamim and Baalei Chesed and Baalei Tzedakah meant to him, the way he fought to stick up for the honor of tzaddikim and Baalei Chesed and Baalei Tzedakah. Shamayim, we need big Rachamim now. In America, we don't know so much what's going on in Israel. I don't know, I used to say unfortunately, by now I think it's already fortunately, because it's so sickening that I don't think we would live if we would understand it all. But listen how crazy this is. I got to say this because it's on my mind. I say whatever I think. Listen how sick this is. There's a man in Eretz Yisrael that I hope you never needed to know his name, and hopefully you'll never need to know his name, but he's one of the biggest tzaddikim alive today because of his chesed, Rav Elimelech Führer. He has an organization called Ezra Lemarpeh. There's a man who does medical referrals for 30 years straight, for free, 100%, for everybody. Religious, not religious, Jewish, not Arab, no questions asked. Somebody's not well, he will turn the world upside down to get him the best doctors, the best medical treatment, to the point that even the Israeli government, which aren't suspected even by accident to be tzaddikim, acknowledge that. They gave him what's called Pras Yisrael, the Award of Israel. He gives his life. You know when his day starts? I don't know when your day starts. His day starts at 3 a.m. And his prior day ends at 12:30 a.m. He sleeps less than 2.5 hours a night for 30 years straight because he's busy helping people 21.5 hours a day. All the Gdolei Israel said he's patur from tefillah. He doesn't have to pray even because he's dealing with pikuach nefesh non-stop. Now forget about the help for people. You know what it is to listen to so many problems a day? You should never know. But I listen to problems all day. Let me tell you, by the time the night comes, you're so depressed you don't know what to do with yourself anymore. You hear another kid is sick, and another woman's sick, and another man is sick, and another Talmid Chacham suffering, and another one's poor. All day long. It gets to you. And for 30 years straight, he's able to smile through all of that with superhuman powers. This is not something that there's no way to explain this. There's no way. The head of the Mossad of Israel, the previous head, Meir Dagan, when he needed to get a liver transplant, and the whole country, even though he was the head of the Mossad, couldn't figure out what to do for him, Elimelech Führer saved his life by sending him to a different country and got him a liver instantly. Meaning he helped everybody on every front. He makes a fundraiser once a year. He tries to raise money from secular Jews, not from Orthodox Jews. He says the Orthodox Jews, they should donate their money to yeshivot. By me, I help everybody, so let them give back a little bit. It won't kill them to give some charity. He scheduled a concert for November 20th. Non-religious concert, non-religious singers, honoring a non-religious singer in Israel. I don't want to say their names in a synagogue. But, according to the halacha, you're not allowed to have women sing in front of men. It's that simple, period. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about that subject. Kol isha irva, that's the halacha. So he told the guys that are organizing it, make sure they only hire male singers. You only take male singers to do the job. Because he can't cause that the men that are going to attend this function should hear women to sing. According to our Torah, it's asur, period. A low-life news reporter in Israel yesterday, who doesn't deserve his name being mentioned, so I'm not going to say his name, went and made a 20-minute scandal on TV that he's anti-women, and how could it be in a public space to make an event without putting women on stage, and put crazy media pressure on TV networks, not yesterday, Tuesday night, that he's going to start a boycott movement against these singers if they go sing by this event. And I don't blame the singers. Under such pressure, what they do, one after another pulled out. And not one government official, not one celebrity, not one public figure, and hopefully that'll change tonight, had the human decency to get up and say, what the heck is going on here? This man saves lives all day. And whose lives does he save? You disgusting people that are fighting him. Where's your human decency? Where's your hakarat hatov? Where's anything? Not one. Everybody's quiet. The Orthodox world, of course, came to his side in the biggest way. There's a very rich man here in America, I don't know if he wants his name to be said, who calculated, because they sell seats, it's 10,000 shekel a seat. So he calculated how many seats there are, and even if he sold out, how much money he could raise, and he made it in the public. Not completely public, but within his circles, he said, I'll give the whole money, who needs their disgusting favors? It's not the money. We'll gladly give the money. We'll give the money times 100. For a man like that, we'll sell our shirts off our back to support him. It's pikuach nefesh, it's not a question at all. It's how did we get to a point that in a Jewish state, in Eretz Yisrael, people, and I don't blame them, I don't think they're bad, I think they're stupid, they're ignorant, nobody taught them. They weren't taught enough to understand that at least don't have a double standard. They're busy saying, respect us. We'll respect you, no problem. What about respect us? Why is respect one-sided? Why isn't it two-sided? Why is it always the yeshiva boy that has to apologize? Why isn't it the girl, the not yeshiva boy that has to apologize? I can promise you, if Rav Ovadia would have been alive today, Motzei Shabbat, this would have been the whole Yazdim speech. Because when things like this happened in Israel, he didn't stay quiet. He said it as it is, and he wasn't scared. About Arik Sharon, he said they're not going to want him not in heaven and not on earth. He was in a coma 8 years after that. Exactly what he said. They didn't take him to Shamayim. He was still on a machine. And they didn't want him on earth either. They put him in a coma. About another one of these ministers, he said he's going to get a brain tumor. He died of brain cancer. And a lot of other things like that. He didn't tolerate this nonsense. Did it help what he said? No, nothing changed. But at a certain point, when the Jewish nation crosses the line, somebody has to say something against it, because otherwise Hashem gets upset. When Yitro stayed quiet, he suffered Yisurim for many years. When Iyov, stayed quiet, he suffered Yisurim for many years. Yisurei Iyov. Why? So the Briskerov explains, if somebody falls down the steps, what does he do? Screams, cries, whatever. Does it help? You know anybody the doctor will say, he broke his leg, and you know what got healed? Without a cast. Got healed from screaming. I don't know anybody like that. I don't think you do either. So what are you screaming for? It's not going to help you. Just the opposite. Your muscles contract when you scream. It makes it worse. Logic in it. But when it hurts, you say something. In Yiddish, the Briskerov said, when something hurts you, you scream. That's it. Case closed. But Rav Ovadia, the Torah and the respect for Torah and mitzvot, and those lines that have to be put into place, that the Torah should be respected the way it is without fabrications, hurt him so much that when somebody tried to cross that line, he cried. He said what he had to say, because there was no filter at that point. It's Hashem on the line over here. It's the Kochei Yisrael on the line over here. What are our kids going to grow up knowing? That we stayed silent when they wanted to go and cut the whole Torah apart? That for sure is not going to happen. I have a very large Israeli audience that listens to my stuff in English, believe it or not. And I hope tomorrow, or Saturday night, or whenever it is, they hear it. And I'm sure they'll spread the word. That no, us American Jews don't agree with this. And we won't put up with this. And if they'll threaten our organizations with boycotts, we're not going to threaten back, because that's not our way. We will help the people that spit at us, so they have nothing to worry about. But what they should know is that we pity them. That their education and their connection with God was stolen from them by a left-wing, liberal, psychotic media. And we pity them even more that they don't have the decency, the minimalistic decency of hakarat hatov, to a man who helped the entire Israel his whole life, to understand that yes, his faith is whatever it is. You may agree, you may not. That's not the subject now. But respect the person for who he is and what his faith is, and say thank you to the one who saved your life, and support his cause that he should be able to continue saving other lives. And this is a great, great, great lesson. Because I'll say Mabul Noach happened over these type of sins. And it's not coincidental that this subject came to the media, and nothing less than a huge apology from that idiot news reporter, which will never happen, unfortunately, I don't think, but at least theoretically. And a bunch of people that are called celebrities, I don't know what makes them celebrities, but whatever, that have big followings, that would come out and say, is not, Hashem's not, this doesn't slide. Al tigubim shichai, don't touch our holy ones. And in Chesed, this guy is the legend of Chesed of our generation. when they cross the line to touch Him, Ad Kan. That's already a red line that can't be crossed. Hashem should help, the Rav Ovadia from Shamayim should daven that these gzerot should get off the religious world already, and for all Klal Yisrael, all Jews are one, we're all the same, we're all equal. And that we should be able to have Torah peacefully, in Eretz Yisrael, peacefully. It's crazy that we have to daven for this, that this is our own. But last week we said in the Shir, even what you deserve, you have to pray for. We're praying that in our own country, Eretz Yisrael, we should be able to learn Torah. Who would think that we would have to fight to be able to learn Torah in Eretz Yisrael? But for that, we need Mashiach Tzidkenu b'meira v'yameinu, amen v'amen.